in the world is to start with great product and then don't mess it up. This product is the right product. So how did this product become the right product? Well, because it was grown in this way by this person, it was picked at the peak of freshness, and then delivered in a minimal amount of time. Hello, my name is Palmer Marinelli. I'm on the board of the Roughwood Seat Archive, and I'm opening a restaurant and consultancy in Philadelphia, hopefully in 2017. And we're here to talk about how to make restaurants more sustainable and ethical. Sustainability is almost something you can't avoid, because in a lot of these places, if you were to try to jumpstart this, industrialism, you would end up just laying waste to these areas. So it's something we have to consider. And there's also the idea of everything about economy is based on the concept of efficiency. This is our holy grail. So if you're going to be efficient, sustainability is kind of the only way to go. And then we also talk about sustainable businesses or sustainable economies. So can we do the things that we're doing indefinitely? If not, why are we doing them in the first place? They're not going to be good policies. Everybody uses gas ranges in the city. All right, there's a great one. Where does the gas come from? Well, it probably comes from fracking in South Dakota, North Dakota, and Pennsylvania. But if you were to go and ask these chefs, do you support fracking? They'd all be like, no, that's ridiculous. So they've already missed this important link. Everyone buys the same AP flour. Okay, well, where is that flour coming from? It's coming from farms mostly in the Midwest. Well, why is it so cheap? Well, maybe because they're spending tons in agricultural subsidies. And then because they're monoculture farming and not taking care of topsoil, there's huge erosion problems. And how much does it cost the Army Corps of Engineers to fix these erosion problems? So maybe you're only paying $1 a pound or whatever for its flour, but then how much of your tax money is going to fix these things? We're all paying for it. It's a matter of, are we able to take our communal wealth and use it in the most efficient way? So for all these things, there's always a hidden cost. And we don't care necessarily because we don't see that hidden cost. But if you start pricing everything in terms of total cost, we'd be able to make much more efficient decisions. And arguably, our tax policy should address that a little bit more. But we just have to be more aware of our surroundings and how our actions affect us and others. Because again, somebody's always paying. And what we typically see is someone has a restaurant and they're making this dish of salmon and potatoes and beets. And they're like, well, we really want to try hard to be local, so we're going to buy these beets local sustainable. Okay, but what's going on with everything else on that plate? Why are you using that salmon? Where did that salmon come from? Is it an antibiotic farm product? Is it genetically modified? Because that's something that can happen now. What are the effects that has here, there, and elsewhere? Did you buy it from a big box supplier? Why not instead reset the question and start with, how can I make something that's good that fits my ethics, and then building up from there. There's a egotistical habit amongst chefs where they want to be the leader, they want to be the artist. It's my food. And that's a ridiculous term because it's not yours, you don't own it, you're giving it to someone else. So why not start from the premise of what can I do? And inevitably, 100% of the time, you'll end up with a better final product. It is not possible to go from mediocre food to great food. It's too many steps to cross. The easier scenario, and the one that affects all of us in the best way, is to start with great product and then don't mess it up. And then maybe you're really talented and you can start with great product and you can make it transcendent, but that's probably not an outcome that is available to most people or most cooks. If you want to kickstart that process, you want to do something tomorrow, the first two things you can do is, number one, start composting. So call up a compost service or just have a separate trash can for compostable materials and then drop it off at the local community garden or the compost service. So that you can do immediately. Next is sourcing, and sourcing is the underlying kind of problem or opportunity for us in Philadelphia. You've got Zone 7 is a farm distribution service, Lancaster Farm Fresh, and then the great folks at Green Meadow. And stop with the thinking that, well, I'm the chef, I get to decide what the food is. And you get these lists from companies like this. You read the lists. This is the food. This is what you're working with. They're going to change the way that they think about how they build dishes and how they build menus. We throw away so much stuff that can get used, and not even in like the garbage cooking kind of way, like things that are really good to use, but we just don't think about it, so we get rid of them. You're making mashed potatoes. You're cooking those potatoes in water. You throw that water down the drain. Why are you throwing that water down the drain? It's got all of this starch in it. So you're making vegetable broth. Well, now you've got a really nice textured, not just like thin water, but thick textured vegetable stock. If you use that water in your bread baking, the yeast goes crazy for all that extra starch, so you'll get a much, more billowy, open crumb loaf. And you said that cooks are like athletes. I think they need to be more like university professors. They need to take the topic that they study and they need to research it, and then they need to synthesize that information towards applicable methods. So reading and more reading is the best place to start. Start looking at vegetables, for example, with the idea that each one has inherent characteristics. There's the Juniata tomato that is for making peach pie. Whoever developed it for that purpose, and it's bizarrely fantastic. It allows us to cook with such an increased specificity because all of these varieties have unique tastes. If everyone's just using the same 3 tomato varieties that come from the big boxes, then you're going to get food that all tastes the same. And a life without nuance sounds pretty depressing for me. And if you get people to start detecting these nuances and you expose them to all these new things, we've taken young cooks to the garden and shown them 20 or 30 herbs in one go that they've never even seen before. It's impossible not to be overwhelmed a little bit. It's a lot of sensory, but then you realize how much you don't really know and how much more there is to learn. So for us, it's like a snowball process. We roll down the hill, we see more things, we learn more things, we increase the catalog knowledge that we have in our tastes and smells, and it allows us to be better decision makers because we have this greater knowledge. So just from a practical aspect of building cooks who are able to function better, that's important. And then inevitably in restaurants, things go horribly wrong. So if you have cooks who are used to making decisions, that's how they think. When something goes wrong, it's just normal for them. They're just making new decisions. So it's also a tactic to prevent problems because you have people who are used to thinking. We want people who can think. This product is the right product. So how did this product become the right product? Well, because it was grown in this way by this person, it was picked at the peak of freshness, and then delivered in a minimal amount of time. We've now understand that these things are right, and the other things, because they aren't as good, are wrong. Your kitchen becomes your world, and you don't see any daylight, and you don't remember what else is out there. The way that you act towards others, the way that you act towards your environment, the way that you treat your food, they're all one. So we need to be building good people as much as we need to be building good employees. I'm going to take the opportunity of this question to shamelessly plug other places that I love because they're different and they each approach this question in a different way. So one of my favorite places in the world is this all-day restaurant called Silo in Brighton in the UK. So they're totally waste-free, like zero waste. How do they achieve that? Well, they achieve it by making a plan, by having ethics about how they're going to source everything, and then that's what they do, and they make a product that is really good. So for one, in that town, you know that the quality of cooking is going to be high. You know, they're still a restaurant at the end of the day. They're cooking as well as they can. But when you go through the door at Silo, you've got this huge compost machine that like makes compost in an hour. It's crazy.
Cool.
So as soon as you walk through the door, you're seeing this thing that you don't think should be in the restaurant, and it makes you take notice. Everything's underlined about the quality of everything they use. And that for them is the starter. That like everything is better because we cook in this way. And we're able to operate a business because we're not using any waste. You know, we've made up all those costs, so we can afford to give you better stuff. People more and more care about where their food is coming from. They care about the idea that their actions might have negative effects on the world and people around them. So if they see someone who's doing it the right way and is adamant about how they're doing it the right way, then they're going to support those people. Who's going to be the first to make a restaurant that sources like only local and sustainable food? Who is going to be, so we talk about ethics and sustainability in terms of employees, who's going to be the first to pay their employees an appropriate wage, to provide them with insurance, with appropriate amounts of time off? No one's doing that here. No one's even close to doing it. Can you operate a business and do those things? Yes, absolutely. I've done the math. I already know it's possible. If you'd like to find out more information about the Roughwood Seed Archive, to purchase seeds or to make a donation, visit roughwoodseeds.org. If you'd like to talk more with me or would like help in making your business sustainable, ethical, and profitable, you can email me at techaphilly@gmail.com. That's TEKE Philly@gmail.com. Thank you.